Welcome to the One Step Ahead series, part storytelling, part podcast, and entirely a celebration. This project is a way to honor the wise beings and medicines that serve us in creating a life that is aligned with the unique beings we are, and the values that connect us to ourselves, to others, to our precious planet, and energies in the universe. You're invited to share in the intimate conversations that arise when we ponder and explore the questions: what does living in alignment feel like? What does it look like? How do we find our way, and who are the guides that can help us discover and deepen our understanding of ourselves? If you're a curious seeker, if you've known that something about your circumstances is not quite the right fit and wondered, what else is there? This is a place to open, expand, and explore. One step ahead of our past, of where we've been, one step closer to where we want to be, where we're meant to be, finding alignment. Always, still, putting one foot in front of the other. Welcome everybody to the winter season of OSA, and welcome back for those who have been along for the ride so far. I'm very happy to be joined again by my co-host, Sabrina Siwiec, incredible, magical human all unto herself. And today we have two beautiful special guests joining us. I am your host, Sheena Wilson, and for anybody who's just dipping in for the first time, the One Step Ahead series is my passion art project, and it's been underway since spring of 2024, and we are in our fourth and final season for this version of the One Step Ahead series. Have no idea what it might grow into. And I'm excited that the timing worked out so that we are joined by Nicole Crone and Kaila Pilecki of My Line Purpose in this final season, as opposed to a little bit earlier, because I'm at a place now where I'm looking at the culmination of the project. I'm getting close to the finish line. This is the largest personal project that I've ever taken on for myself, simply for the sake of playing and being creative. And I was preparing for our call today, and I was kind of laughing because so much of my world now revolves around this theme of alignment. And when I first met the two of you, golly, I think it's going to be 3 years ago this spring, actually. I met you at a time where I was really frustrated and done with feeling like my world didn't fit, but I hadn't yet really tapped into the concept of alignment. So Sabrina actually asked me a little bit earlier, why did we bring Kaila and Nick together? And I'll do a little bit of an intro for each of them afterwards. But why did we bring them together instead of separately? Because all of our other guests have been these separate interviews. And I said, first and foremost, I really want to celebrate my aligned purpose. And my aligned purpose is the creation of the two of you together. And I really want to celebrate the alignment that you two exhibit in your lives, but also in your work world and in your partnership with each other, because it's kind of a rare and special thing when you find a business bestie. And I think a lot of people might be curious about what that kind of looks like on the inside. And I'm fortunate because being part of your mastermind for the last couple of years, I got an inside glimpse into that. And I found the two of you so inspiring. So inspiring, in fact, that I found myself wanting to create this project, showing up, speaking out, being vulnerable, highlighting the people that I love. I can't imagine how that would have happened had I not been introduced to My Aligned Purpose and the two of you. So celebrating Nicole Crone, who is the mindset magic of My Aligned Purpose. Such an incredible NLP practitioner and teacher, and I thank you so much. I know one of my continues to be biggest hurdles is mindset and how I show up in a space, and I've always felt so supported by you and the strategies that you use to help reframe and create new programs. And Kaila, all things systems, all the good, like, I see what you need to do. Here's what you need to do to get it done. And then the two of you marry all of that together. And literally, I have been in awe watching your business grow and flourish. And so I am looking forward to a conversation today all about the two of you and what alignment looks like in your world, the role of alignment and being authentic in how you show up, not just in your world, but in your lives, in your work, in your partnerships. Yeah, so welcome, 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 welcome. I'm a little bit excited for this conversation. In case you can't tell, my heart is filled with gratitude, and I really do attribute so much of my growth to the two of you and to being part of the communities that you two nurture. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for that amazing intro.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's really kind of sweet because I know that as a result of various different opportunities to be in community with the two of you, that Sabrina has also had a taste of my aligned purpose. And so it's really neat that we all have that common ground to talk about. And I know that it hasn't always been this way. I know that it hasn't always been this way. And in fact, my aligned purpose is turning 5 this year. Yeah, turning 5 this year. Golly. COVID times, pre-COVID times, all of those adventures. Maybe we'll start with whoever feels called to respond first, but a little bit of reflecting on what misalignment looked like, what helped you find your way towards, okay, need to find a better fit. This is what that's starting to look like.
Oh, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, this is a story that I've shared many times, and I trace it back to being a teenager. I trace it back to not listening to my intuition. I've always felt very intuitive and very tapped in, felt like I could know or predict what's coming before it came. And when I was a teenager, the very last thing I wanted to do was continue going to school after I graduated high school. Everything in my body said no, travel, meet people, explore, figure it out. And the pressure didn't come from my parents. The pressure came from my teachers and my friends who were all going to university, and my teacher saying, well, school's good, easy for you. So you should just go to school and, be a nurse, be a lawyer, be a teacher, be something, that's fill in one of these boxes. And all my friends were going to school because they had that pressure from their parents. My parents always said, do whatever you want to do. I was the first person in my gigantic family to get a university degree. Like, it's not like it was a common thing in my family to go to post-secondary. But I went and I almost got kicked out my first year, got a letter saying you've got to pick up your grades. This isn't going to work because I did not want to be there. I wanted to have fun and be 19 and, do other things. And so lo and behold, I continue to ignore my intuition. I complete university. I get the degree. Woo. I'm in a lot of debt. Don't really have anything I can do with my Bachelor of Arts. And then I start to listen to myself, and a group of girlfriends and I, literally with 48 hours notice, we said, let's move to Alberta. I'd never been out west before. I'm from Nova Scotia. Let's move to Banff. We think that all these cute Aussies are moving to Banff to snowboard. We should do that too. We book a one-way flight. I called my parents. I said, I'm moving to Alberta. Like, if you want to see me, you've got basically 48 hours. I was living in Halifax at the time, about an hour and a half away from them. So my parents drove up really quick to say goodbye to me. And I got on a plane with my girlfriends, and in the Calgary airport or on the plane, I can't even remember, somebody said, you shouldn't go to Banff, you should move to Canmore. So we were like, all right, let's hand out resumes in Canmore and see if we get jobs. And we all did. And then that was the beginning of me tapping into what felt like alignment, what felt like on purpose. I was meeting people from all over the world, and I was waitressing and bartending and having fun. And then I hit that sort of mid 20 age of doing that, like traveling abroad and meeting people and waitressing and that sort of thing. And then all of my friends started settling down, started getting married and buying homes and getting really established in their careers. And I had this voice in my head that said, you should be doing that. You should be doing that. It was a voice inside my head, even though my body was saying no. So then I went against my intuition again. I went back to school. I did 2 more years of university so I could become a teacher. I thought, this is it. I'm checking all the boxes. I got the established career. I have the pension. I have the benefits. I'm being paid really well. And I was absolutely miserable. I was deflecting. I was hitting burnout. I was disassociating outside of the hours of being in the classroom. I was just completely not myself. And I did that for 5 years until I hit a breaking point at 30. And I thought, I can't keep living like this. It doesn't matter that I'm checking all the boxes. I'm not in alignment. This is not my purpose. Something feels really off. And so I gave myself permission to take a year and move overseas and not teach and go get a working holiday visa for Australia. All those Aussies I want to meet back in Canmore. I was like, well, let's go make this happen. I had a place to stay from somebody I met in Canmore. And that was the beginning of like truly listening to myself, was when I turned 30, 31, thinking, knowing I don't have to live my life for anybody else. And then over the course of being 31 to now 38, those last 7 years, it's been a journey of trying different things and entrepreneurship and businesses and yoga and all these different things. But what I notice is the biggest difference for me is that in this season of life, I'm actually listening to my intuition and knowing what is alignment for me and what makes me feel on purpose. Yeah.
You know, the magic of listening to the intuition,
Mhm.
the beauty of being able to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh,
I love that you and Sheena have that shared story of finding yourself in a significant misalignment with teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, should I explain where I came from and why I'm here right now?
I
Let's
would
hear
love
it.
that. I would love that. Yeah, we're building the stories to the point where Kayla and Nicole find each other.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I always knew that I also didn't love university, but I went anyway. I actually wasn't even thinking I wanted to do anything else. I just thought, like, okay, I'll go do it. Like, there was no other option. And then I got to SFU and I did not enjoy, for example, Anthropology 101. I was like, what on earth? Why am I even sitting here right now? And anyway, so we continue on as we do when we're 17, 18, 19 in university. And I got my Bachelor of Arts. Halfway through, I met someone named Craig Weckerly, who had a StudentWorks painting franchise. And he had made $20,000 in a summer. And I heard this through the grapevine. And I was like, what is he doing? I'll do it. And I started my StudentWorks painting business, which was great because I learned so much about running a business. It was a franchise, so I got the marketing materials and the office support, but I had to do all the sales. And the strategy for sales at the time was knock on every door in North Burnaby. It was my first year, and then my next 2 years were in East Van. And just ask them, hi, I'm Kayla. Can I paint your house? So off I went, knocking on every door and booked tons of paint jobs. And then I realized, okay, well, I guess I don't know how to paint. So that's next. It was truly step by step by step by step. I learned how to paint and then put some crews together and execute the jobs that I'd sold. And I look back now and I cannot believe my parents, who are in Ottawa, and I was over here in Vancouver doing this, just were so hands off. Like, they had no idea. Anyway, so I'm over here painting houses. I had a thought, maybe I should change my degree to business and then I can actually learn about this. But then the prospect of doing those first 2 years again, of like the 100 and 200 level classes, was like a hard absolutely not, no way in hell. I guess I have to finish English because I'm not going back there. So I finished my English degree and became a fundraiser. As a fundraiser, I was a fundraiser for 12 years and I raised tons of money and learned so much about sales and community building and how many generous people there are and how they support all this research and hospital equipment and stuff like that. But I did not like the politics of being inside a nonprofit. And and also like I just didn't want to be controlled. I had that taste of entrepreneurship in painting, and I tried things from painting forward until coaching stuck. I cleaned Airbnbs to pay off my student loan, and I had a business doing that. I always painted for money on the side. Then I had a butter churning business because I got really into butter. Well, I didn't get re I am really into butter. But then it was pointed out to me that no one churns butter anymore, and so maybe I should try it. So then I started churning butter for fun, and then people wanted to buy this butter. And then I was like, I guess I have a butter business now. So that lasted for a year of selling butter at farmers markets. And that was cool too, because I learned you have an audience of people who like you, and then you have an audience of people who think you're insane. Hate it. People would walk up to the table and say, I love butter. I live for butter. I want to buy 5 pounds. And I was selling it for $24 a pound. So that was a big sale. And yeah, $24 a pound of artisanal butter. I would sell out almost instantly at the farmer's market, like within the first hour or two. And then there were people who'd walk by the table and they'd be like, ew, I hate butter. Butter's disgusting. I'm like, I can hear you. I'm literally a person less than a meter away from you, and I can hear you swearing about butter. So that was a really good lesson. Like, some people are going to hate it and some people are going to love it. Whatever. And then from butter, I really admitted, okay, I'm doing anything and literally everything to get out of fundraising. I should probably find something that I have a skill set around that doesn't require so much food testing and competing with big dairy companies. And my coach at the time, who was coaching me on how to climb the ladder in fundraising, said, why don't you go to coach school and just see how it works? And I thought, like, I guess so. I'll go to coach. I went to Royal Roads because I was still employed so that tuition could be used against my taxes. And you know me, I love a system. I love a rule. I love a tax loophole. I'm here for it. And so I went to Royal Roads and did coaching, executive coaching. And then I learned my intuition was starting to get louder and louder. Like, I don't actually like corporate coaching, but I like working with women and with people who really want to move something forward in their life. And then this is when Nicole and I met. So should we move into that?
Yeah,
That's the
because
story.
you were doing some coaching, like you were kind of like co-workers for a little while, as I
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I quit my 9 to 5 in January 2020, and Nicole had previously left teaching in that September. She didn't start again in 2019. And then we were working for another coaching company, being associate coaches. And when the pandemic hit, she basically said to us, like, I can't guarantee you work. And so you're going to have to go figure this out on your own. You can still work for me in some ways, but I'm not going to get you clients, and it's all you. And so we hung up the call. We were both on that call, not as a unit, but both of us on the call. We hung up and we talked after because we'd been coaching every Monday. We'd meet and have our coffee and say, like, it's 9 a.m. We're entrepreneurs. What are we doing this week? And coach each other through what we were working on. And that after we had that meeting, I remember we got on the phone or we got back on Zoom or something, and we said, like, okay, well, what should we do? And it just worked out that we knew each other well enough from coaching each other for a few months that it just seemed like a no-brainer to do it together. Would you say that's how it went?
Yeah, and I think it also came from a place of me trying to do my thing on my own and having my strengths, but having areas where I didn't feel so strong, and you trying to do your thing on your own and having your strengths, but areas where you could have used that supplementary support. And then I was trying to build out a manifesting mindset business, and Kayla was building out a money business. And so that's what we were coaching each other on. And then when we came together, we were like, okay, is there a way to blend my passion and your passion and make something? And that's when we created Manifesting Money Masterclass. And in the beginning, there I don't remember, maybe there was, but I don't remember there being a like, this is our long-term vision. This is what we're doing for the rest of our
Yeah,
life.
we were
I
like,
think,
we're just gonna do this course and see what
yeah,
happens.
we're going to make a course and see what happens. And that course was the beginning of us like creating and not stopping. And we've never stopped. Hmm.
Thank you too.
Story, the whole backstory.
Amazing.
Hmm.
I think it's such a cool example of like we have really no idea who we are going to encounter along the journey and the importance of being open to opportunities and to really to reframes because often a circumstance that looks like the door we rely on most closing can be paralyzing in a way and but the sooner that we can acknowledge that as a gift even if we have zero appreciation and don't know what that gift looks like but moving forward with a sense of optimism and trust and really curiosity.
Hmm.
Let's try this and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helped that the whole world was in flux. I know that COVID was a really hard time for a lot of people, and I don't want to minimize that. But for us, we were at home. We were creating anyway, and it didn't seem at the time to me super high stakes to put this course together and see what happens. It felt like we're going to create a course individually or together anyway, and we have such complementary energy. We might as well give it a shot. And I'm saying that now. I did feel that at that time, but I quit my job in January 2020 and I was just newly pregnant. And then my husband got laid off in March 2020 at the end of March. And I was like 14 weeks pregnant or something. So I was really like, could have had a freak out about how there's no security here and we're having this baby and what the hell is happening. And I just knew that I don't know. I didn't feel like there was a reason to panic. It felt like every day's happening. It's okay. We can't predict the future. This pandemic is super weird. And now Nicole and I are going to manifest money. Awesome. Let's try it.
Mm.
Yeah. It was the gift of a time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It does sound so magically that not only were you coming from such a grounded place, but this alignment merged together when you guys were both able to see how complementary your skill sets were. And I'm sure you see this a lot in your coaching business that, as entrepreneurs, we want to be able to do it all. It's like, well, I should be able to know how to do the systems and do the marketing and, and create the content and like show up in whatever, magical practitioner service I provide. But the reality is that most of us don't have the ability to do it all. We do need other people in order to truly thrive in our business growth.
Hmm.
And for you guys to be able to see that and then really move into a place where you're helping people grow from that perspective is really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a really interesting time. I think it was so cool too that we didn't know one another at the time. And Kayla was doing her coach training at the same time I was doing my coach training. And then we got brought onto this team together. This woman knew Kayla and had met me. She met me from me serving her when I was a waitress at Stage in Fernwood. And she just loved me and asked me to go for coffees and walks, and she paid for my first segment of coach training. She said, "You need to be a coach. You're so excellent at this. Let me give you the money to get you started and then come work for me afterwards." Like that wouldn't have happened if I didn't open up that conversation with her, serving her at my minimum wage waitressing job that night. And then she said, "Oh, I want you to meet Kayla. She's the other associate coach I brought on." And so that's how that all just happened.
Magic.
Yes,
Mhm.
synchronicity, right? Synchronicity and the power of saying yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's my word for the year. Sacral yes. If it's not a sacral yes, it's a no.
Oof. I love that. Sheena and I were literally just talking about receiving. It's like,
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. It's my filter for everything right now. Is
oof.
this a full body yes? And I know that because that's how I'm wired in human design to be an immediate yes or an immediate no from my sacral. And I'm truly listening to that with every decision now.
Brilliant. It's funny, my word is self-trust, which is,
Mhm.
I think it's so similar. It's like, can I trust myself to make this decision? Do I need to outsource this to somebody else? And the answer is always no, if you just take time to sit with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You always know.
You always know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The beauty comes in practicing, not denying it, not overthinking it, and really just taking that action. Yeah.
Not
Mhm.
ignoring it.
Yeah, I do that.
I do too. I
I've
do
been
too.
known.
Yeah. I'll know it's a full body yes or a full body no. And if it's a no, then all kinds of other voices creep in that maybe, are you sure? Because this, and this. And when it's a full body yes, then there might be conversations around, worthiness and all of those sorts of things. Whereas if you just honor it and step forward, you can get so much further, so much more quickly, and with less noise.
It's true. Well, the noise is there, but you're moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The noise moves to the back of the car.
Yeah. I would love to hear a little bit more about your story of when did you start really being aware of the theme of alignment, in your own lives as you were coming together and with your business. Choosing a business name is kind of a big deal. And I actually, when I look around my world now, the word aligned or alignment is like a regular part of my life. And I think part of that is because I need to remember every single day what I'm building is intended to be aligned. And if it's not feeling aligned, I need to be checking in on that. So I'm curious to know how that became, I don't know if theme is quite the right word, but it feels like a theme in the work that you do.
Yeah, I can speak to that because it started before My Line Purpose was a business, in that I spoke to a psychic in January 2020. And the psychic said to me, "Have you ever heard of the Artist's Way?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Go order the Artist's Way." So I order the Artist's Way. It arrives. I start January 12th. I'm writing with literally zero expectation. I obviously don't know the world's going to shut down. I'd only done one weekend of coach training, like one of five. It was a 5-part thing that I had to do. I was so open, and yet like had no idea where it was going to take me. And then probably 4 weeks into writing, I started hearing that little voice inside of my head that said, "You should start a podcast." And I felt like, "Oh, this is it. I love talking. Give me a platform, a microphone. This is going to be the thing I want to do." And I was all ready to go. I was watching every YouTube tutorial, getting myself set up, taught myself everything to get this podcast up and off the ground. But the thing that was holding me back from putting it out there was the name. I thought the name is the most important piece, arguably, to this. And so then I started going for walks every day. And I'd go for walks and I would say, "Universe, just give me the name. What is the name here?" And then finally, one day, it just dropped in a walk, in a meditation, My Aligned Purpose. And I've always said that alignment to me is me going through my chakra system. And so starting at the base. And so if we're talking about business and we work with the base chakra and work our way up, do I feel rooted? Do I feel grounded and rooted in this? Does this allow me to be creative? Do I feel confident in the work I'm doing? Is my heart in this? Am I able to speak my truth? Is my vision clear? And is this connecting me to something bigger than myself? And when I go through those 7 chakras, and I was doing that with the podcast, I was like, yes, 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 yes. My Line Purpose felt like the perfect fit. So when Kayla and I had that conversation that day of, do we go all in and make a course together? And, we needed to get a website domain. I was like, well, I have the podcast. I was not selling anything on the podcast. I didn't have a website. This is the thing. This is why I think people should create for the sheer sake of creating, because I didn't have the intention of like, how many people can I drive to a website at that moment in time? It was, I'm doing this because I have a calling to do it. Then when we came together and needed a website name, I was like, well, this kind of works if you want to just carry this over. And it did.
And I hear you saying, Sheena, that it's a big deal to have a business name. And it is for some people. But for me, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. We'll find is the domain free? We'll buy it. So,
Mhm.
it kind of just, you have to know yourself and know what's important to you. And if it works or if it doesn't, I don't know. Maybe that's my sacral yes. I'm like, yeah, sure. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Nicole is our ahead of ideas though.
But it's almost like for you, like because you're so system based, it was like this checks the box. Yes, we've checked it. We're moving
Yeah, it
along.
makes sense.
Yeah,
It
it
makes
makes sense.
sense. We
Check.
like it.
It's
The
available.
energy is
Check.
good.
Mm.
Now, is the URL available? Yes. Well, then we're definitely going with it. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what alignment is to me and what it was in the creation of the name. But I know that you also have your way of tapping into alignment, Kayla.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm also a sacral generator in human design, so I can tell if it's a yes or a no. And like we were saying earlier, it's just allowing myself to hear if it's a yes or a no. And if it's a no, not shutting down that voice that it's a no and trying to make excuses that it is a yes. And Nicole and I, when we were coaching, we realized that we have the same values and we want the same thing. And it doesn't happen very often. I think when people are going to go into a business partnership, you need to think about these questions. And we actually have a podcast on how we operate together and what our values are. But we're both, our core values are generosity and connection. And if we can have generosity and connection first and foremost, and then we have our goal of having an 8-figure business, which we've always, first it was like we want to have a 7-figure business a year, and then it was multiple 7-figure, and now we're like, we're going for gold. We're going for an 8-figure business. And we just keep evolving our goals together, and they keep being in alignment, it meaning like they're similar to each other. However, we get there, we have lots of conversations about what would be the way forward and how are we going to have the most impact and make money and have the most fun. And yeah, we're just really good open communicators with shared values. It's kind
We
of
do.
rare to find. We can both also like toe the line, as in do not maybe exactly 50-50 the same amount of work all the time, but we both know our areas and we're 100% committed to completing what we say we're going to do in our areas.
Mm. We do have a rule too that if one of us feels really headstrong, really aligned and called to a decision we're making, then we go with it. Like if one person feels like this is what is the thing, then the other person trusts that that's it, and that's kind of how we go
Yeah.
about things. And then our other rule is only one of us can be at the zoo on the day. The two of us, we can't be both at the zoo. We both can't be losing our minds, in anxiety or freaking out. If one of us is having a panic day, the other one's holding the fort down.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Only one person at the zoo at a time.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, the importance of values echoes through all of those different pieces. It really, really does. Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm. We talk about values and the importance of understanding one's own values in order to be able to really use those as a lens to view moving through the world. And it can feel like it's really big work and it can feel like it's really complex work. And for myself, I know that when I actually slowed down and started looking at it, I could see where my values were already reflected in my world.
Mm.
So it's not like we go through life not knowing or not having values. We just maybe haven't tucked into getting to know them and giving them a name and then using them to collaborate to move through the world. And how important it is, we cannot be in alignment if our values are not being met, right? And that seems to be the big differentiator, and that's where it was that strong sense of this doesn't fit. It didn't fit because the environment, the actions, the way that I was being in the world didn't feel good. They were not my values or aligned with my values.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's so beautiful that you guys, those two things together, open communication and values, are such a strong foundation for how you move forward. And if you think of any successful relationship, right? You guys really show up and support each other in the days that the other can't, because that's going to be the reality of everyone in life, where we can't do it all the time, much as we
Mhm.
might try and fall on our faces on occasion. But
Mhm.
the foundation of the values is so pivotal in the work that I do with clients as well, because I think if we can't see things through that lens, then we're not even able to identify the areas that we find discomfort, that feel really icky or cause us anxiety or depression or whatever it is that you're coping with. And so to see that as the foundation of your guys' business is really, it's really lovely to see. Yeah. And really speaks to, I think, as to why you guys are so successful.
Thank you. I attribute a lot of that open communication, not just with Kayla and with my husband and with anybody in my life at this point in time, to my coach training. I feel like doing my coaching training certification taught me so much about listening. To be the best coach, you are the best listener. And so it really is listening to one another. And Kayla and I, we met as strangers and then became business partners and then became best friends. And sometimes we're like sisters. We'll bicker. We'll be like, why are you looking at me like that? Why did you say that? We'll have moments where, okay, well, let's just take a pause and then we come back. But I feel like our way of resolving conflict or coming back together or really empathizing for one another, I'm really sorry I said that to you. I was not in a good place. Like our ability to do that, I think is really amazing because I've not had that in friendships up to this point.
I was going to say, when I was listening to you talk about our values or whichever was happening, I was thinking it is a big part of coach training is being able to come to the table, and that we're both able to come to the table. It's not, when you are doing an up level of yourself and you're learning, and then the people in your life kind of like stay over here. So you try to come to them with a conversation and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then you're like, okay, well, now I'm into open communication. What do you mean you're not into open communication? We're both coming to the table with the open communication and we want the best for each other. We know we can, I think we know we can create the best for our business and for each other's lives through the vehicle of my aligned purpose. And we both really believe that. So we just make our business work for us every day. It's fun times over here.
Yeah, yay. I know, always new, fun, exciting opportunities coming along. And you inspire so many. One of the things that I celebrate the most in my life, and it gets better and better every day. It's kind of a funny story. When I signed up for a week-long manifestation masterclass. And I had no idea when I signed up that it was actually intended for entrepreneurs. I was just like, this sounds really good. I'm feeling that full body. Yes, I'm going to go do this. And over the course of those 5 days, I felt tectonic shifts, huge shifts, that all of a sudden my perspective opened up to a world of possibility. It didn't open up to that whole world. It just opened up to the concept that there is so much more here. And if something is not feeling like a good fit, what can you learn from it to apply and choose and keep trying something, like just keep trying something else. Be curious. So many of these really cool parts of myself were stifled. There was no place for them in corporate. There was, as a teacher, I think one of the things that I loved about it and where I thrived was that creative element and the people element. When I was in my room with the door closed with my kids working through a lesson that I was excited about, I would have stayed there for a lifetime doing that work. So instead of being terribly sad about losing that, I could take understanding this really works for me. I want more of this. Where else can I find it? In what other areas of my world could I find or create that? And that's the next up level is first, oh wow, I can dream, because dreams do come true because I'm in community with humans who are proof, and not just the two of you, right? But examples of proof dotted all over when you stop and you get to hear the stories and you pay attention and you open up to possibilities. dreaming and then up leveling to the place of, oh, I'm just going to build it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to create the thing for the sake of being creative.
Mm.
Again, with more trust and with curiosity and taking what we can learn and applying that and moving forward, but always following what feels good. And that seems to be the magic, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions that often comes up in these conversations is, how do you know when you're out of alignment? And I think it's a kind of a funny question to bring to the two of you, because you've been doing this work for a while now, and you're at a place where fuck yes, fuck no, moving forward.
Well, yeah.
Do you still sometimes get stuck? And how do you recognize and move through misalignment in your world now?
Well, I have an example right off the top of my head. It's hard for me. I take full responsibility for all that makes up me, for why it's hard to find someone to work with us who is going to work at our pace and meet expectations. Now, that being said, we have someone working with us right now who's amazing, total dream. I met her. We had a conversation. It was like, I don't know, 15 minutes in. And I said, okay, we have to get Nicole on the call. She's going to love you. This is amazing. What's your human design type? And she was a coach. She had all the experience in what we're doing now and then wants to work in the back end. So finally, I feel like I'm getting good at gauging who I'm worthy of having working in this business alongside me, other than the two of us, and the level of help we're worthy of receiving, because it's a big receiving issue, and then being able to use my voice and actually ask for what I need. But this stickiness happens, and we were actually talking about, we were doing a feed forward exercise yesterday on the call, and Nicole described it really well. The stickiness that happens when I'm out of alignment, it happens so fast now that I get frustrated and then I basically start like fritzing out. I get like really short. I can't really function very well. I want out of the room or out of the energy or whatever it is, and I do not have patience for working with someone who's, a question is totally different. I mean, like fundamentally out of alignment with what we're doing and what our goals are and wanting to help us advance the business. And we had a couple of times, let's say over the last year, where we've started working with someone and their skill set seemed to have matched, but the I was desperate for help, and the energy wasn't the number one thing I was paying attention to, or that the energy didn't seem to be available at the time of hiring. And now that we are back in good energy with the person who's working with us now, and she's so aligned, as in same values, super positive and fun and helpful and upbeat, and wants to see us grow and wants to grow with us, I feel like, wow, we can do so much more.
Mm.
Yeah. Does that answer that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you tuned into, like, physically, mentally, emotionally, you recognize right away.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm very bad at hiding the truth. I would say truth is one of my number one personal values, and we bring it into the business. And Nicole knows if I'm thinking something, it's like practically impossible to not be able for Nicole at this point, and probably everybody else, but Nicole's like especially attuned to this, reading it off my face. So I try to keep it together, but it's not in my skill set.
Yeah. I'm like, what is that look for? What is happening?
Oh.
I mean, really, what's the value of being inauthentic in those moments and trying to hide it? That goes against everything we all believe, which is like be true to yourself and speak your truth in the moments when it really matters. Or
Mm.
all the time.
All the times.
All the
Over
time.
here, speaking my truth with my eyebrows.
Mm.
And sometimes I'm just making a face and I don't mean it, and people can read into what it is, and I'm just not controlling my facial expressions. But other times it gets really intense over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
What would you say, Nicole?
Or can you re-ask the question?
How do you recognize misalignment when it shows up in your world now, and how do you move through it or work with it?
Mm. Yeah, I think for me, it's a lot easier for me to be in my head than it is my body. So when people will say like, "Where do you feel that in your body?" I always say, "I don't know. I can tell you what I'm thinking, but where I feel it in my body, that is a hard one for me because I'm like, I guess I feel it everywhere. Should I be feeling it in my chest, my stomach? I'm unsure." And so when I'm feeling that something could be out of misalignment, I feel like my awareness is getting better and better at like catching something before it feels misaligned. But when I'm feeling like it's going that route, I need to either sit in silence and meditate or free write out what I'm thinking until I get to a place of like, oh, okay, this is what you actually want, or this is why it feels off, or you're thinking it's off. But for me, it is solo processing is how I recognize before I feel out of alignment. But I'm struggling to think of where I've felt out of alignment actually.
An example for you from yesterday.
Okay. Tell me from yesterday, but I definitely there has been Kayla and I have been a part of a few different like friend groups and mastermind groups and different things like that. And we both made the call this week to remove ourselves from a group that we were both just feeling like our time is complete. That was the way to like express it outwardly, but inwardly I know that it is feeling misaligned. Mhm.
I thank you for sharing that one. I was thinking also of the example of the Stairmaster 45-day
Oh,
challenge.
yes. Yes, my Stairmaster
That you were
challenge.
gonna do that?
I tried 3 days, and then on day four, I was like, I don't like this at all, and I want to quit. And instead of quitting, I went to the gym and did something else instead of quitting on the gym entirely. And yeah, it was a real recognition of like wanting to do this thing because it's a challenge and it seems like fun and trendy. But 3 days in, I was like, I actually am despising this. And rather than despising something and then not sticking to what I'm saying I want to do, which is move my body daily, why don't I just do something I actually like?
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
celebrating this because I remember back in the day you doing 75 hard.
Mm.
And I think I probably did it shortly after, maybe around the same time. So I know that you're not afraid of a challenge,
No,
obviously.
I like a
Afraid of the
challenge.
discomfort
So
of the new
45
thing that
minutes
we
or
have to force
45
ourselves
days?
to do. Pardon me?
Seems like a lot of stairmastering.
It is you're
I
out
missed that altogether. I
rock
can't
hard
keep
by
up.
the end of it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. I
exhausting.
like
Also, like, there's just no point in torturing ourselves if it doesn't feel good. Why? Why do we
exactly.
do
And
it?
I do like a challenge. And in the little thing that Gretchen Rubin creates, I forget what it is, but I am a rebel. And I think that's a
The
smaller
four
percentage.
tendencies.
Yeah, the four tendencies. You're an obliger.
Rebel, upholder, or questioner.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I think that rebel is maybe one of the smaller categories. And I I just won't do something that I don't want to do. Like you cannot convince me to do something if I actually don't want to do it. But that comes down to myself too. If I tell myself to do something, but then there is this gut feeling of no, then I can't force myself to do something. So it's interesting how that shows up in my life.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And to see the evolution over the years, because there was a time when you honored that part and you forced yourself to go back to school and you took the teaching job, and
Yeah.
now
Oh
your
yeah.
rebel inside of you is like, fuck no.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. I was not paying attention to what I wanted or needed up until my 30s, for sure.
Yeah, Rebel's so interesting. It is the smallest part of the population. I feel like I could be Gretchen Rubin's assistant. I've read everything she's written. I do all her courses. I'm obsessed with her. I love Gretchen Rubin. So I feel informed to speak about this. Rebels, if somebody else tells them what to do, they won't do it unless it's part of their identity. And if someone suggests something for them to do, it almost like makes them flip against it because they have to decide this is who I am and this is what I'm doing before anything actually happens. And I was going to comment yesterday or the day before about something you were doing. And then I specifically didn't because I was like, I don't want to flare your rebel tendency. And then somehow you rebel against that, but I did want you to do it and you were doing it. So I was like, it's cool. All happening in my head. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Everything's fine. Okay, great.
Spoken like a true mom right there.
Spoken like a mom. How are we going to continue the good habit? Just be cool.
Say
Be
nothing.
cool. Yeah.
I thank you for that reminder. I remember doing that. I think I'm a questioner, which makes total sense. I do question everything and like to ad nauseum where people are like, why do you need to know all that?
Mm.
But I am thinking of a little boy who I know who just gives his parents a run for their money. And I would have a strong inclination that he's a rebel. And maybe this information would be helpful for her as a mom to navigate.
Totally. And she can look up Gretchen Rubin's podcast on Apple and just look up Gretchen Rubin Rebel. And sometimes she does whole episodes on how to deal with rebels.
Okay.
And then, or you could Google it and find articles on special ways to allow rebels to motivate themselves based on their identity. It's very complex. And my brother is a rebel,
She's
and
speaking from experience of working with one.
my brother's a rebel, Nicole's a rebel, Scott's a questioner. I am surrounded by people who don't like rules, and my number one favorite place ever is black or white. So I'm like, I don't eat gluten ever again in my life, no matter what, never. And that's okay with me. I'll hold that as long as there's a yes or no rule for me. I will keep going until the cows come home. And I'm totally fine saying, like, I'm hungry and the only thing to eat here is gluten, but I don't eat gluten, and that's okay. And like it's just so easy for me. So to relate, which is also a small part of the population, upholders, yeah, that's how I am, the rule person. Discipline is my freedom. And rebels are opposite, but then at the same time, when people ask me to be moderate, like, well, maybe you just want to do 3 workouts a week, not the 5 you said you're going to do, or maybe you just could chill out. That incites this rebel attitude in me where I'm like, don't tell me what to do. The rule is set over here. So it's like, we're all working with our personalities. We're all deep into the personal development, into growing our businesses. We're very deep in it over here.
There's
Yes.
so much that can change so quickly. And yet some things, like when we're thinking
Yes.
about our personality types and our values, there are some things that are just steadfast, right? And so we can work with all of those. But
Are you an upholder or an obliger, Sheena?
I don't know. I
Oh,
am really
no.
curious to find out.
Please report back.
I am
We
going
can
to.
Yes, please
Four
do.
Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin.
do the quiz.
I will. I will. I'm
Okay.
very curious because I feel like well, as we all do, probably, we've all got some of those tendencies, but which are the ones that are dominant?
Mhm.
And why are they dominant? That would be an interesting question as well. Why so strong on following the rules? Or why
This interview
so
goes on for 3 more days.
I was just going to say, and now we've opened up a 3-hour podcast episode.
Why?
And we're just scratching the surface.
Mm.
the joy of just talking about the things that are exciting and fascinating and that kind of light a little bit of a fire inside of us.
Mm.
Yeah. I had whispers of a thought to do a podcast when I still worked for government, and I laugh at myself now when I think about the nature of what that would have turned out to be. It would have been not the energy that I would like to cultivate to find alignment in my world.
Well said.
Yes, yes. And I'm really grateful for the examples of what an aligned podcast, both literally and figuratively, actually looks like. And why I claim mine, this is an art project. Because even with podcasting, I feel like there are some rules that I don't quite want to pay attention to. It's not about abiding. I just don't even want to pay attention to them.
Mm.
Ding.
But it's all just in the creation of things, right? And yeah, I was about to start going off on a little tangent about boxes and fitting things into boxes. And
Sheena, you might be a suppressed rebel.
I wouldn't be surprised actually. I did a piece of writing today that starts off with I am an asshole. And then, oh no, that's a little too harsh. I can be a real asshole sometimes. And I can't help but
Maybe
wonder if it's
you were like forced into the obliger box, but deep down under that, like the stuff you have to peel away in order to find the anger and then get to the rebel personality. Maybe it's all there.
I have a hunch. I have a hunch because the rebel, she comes out now, but I need to let her out before she's rattled the bars and broken through the gate. I need to let
That's
her
kind
come
of an
forward
obliger
sooner.
thing. That's an obliger thing. It's like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's not okay. So that's an obliger pattern. Everything's fine until it's really absolutely not fine, and now you're burning the building down. Yeah.
Others in the world, I have a hunch people can relate to that.
Well, that's the biggest tendency, that it's okay and
Um,
not okay tendency. Yeah.
uh, I get so much amusement each time I realize ways in the world where I am actually quite typical.
Yes. Oh, it's not just my problem. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, or that's not me. Oh, wait. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it
Oh,
is. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love the little juicy bits that come through in these conversations because how many of us now are going to go and be peeking at Gretchen Rubin and exploring which tendency we're dominant in? Oh, so good. I have quite a different question. Take us in a little bit of a different direction as we start to wind up our conversation. Appreciating that OSA is designed ultimately just to provide a taste of what's out there, a taste of what's possible for folks who are feeling like things in their world are not a good fit, but they're really not sure even really, I guess, what that means. And so appreciating as coaches, you serve so many different types of personalities at different stages in their lives and their business. And I'm wondering if you were to try to be succinct with this question. For people who are listening, what wisdom might you have to share that could help them get more clear on where there is misalignment and where there is alignment in their lives? How can somebody, and thinking about sweet me 3 years ago, who's just showing up and hearing something that piques the curiosity, what might be those baby steps towards creating more alignment in one's life?
Want me to start? Well, stay tuned for my future TED Talk that's going to be about this, which is our awareness is our superpower. And I think everybody gets to create a daily self awareness practice, whatever that means for you listening. It can be 5 minutes, something that allows you to check in with what you are aware of. And so, I think that the easiest way to start that is by doing something that's introspective, something that allows you to go inwards, whether that's meditation, journaling, EFT tapping, breath work, something like that, where it doesn't require another individual. It doesn't require you to be, sitting in the mountains in the Himalayas. Like you can literally be anywhere and take on any of those things I just mentioned. It's going to allow you, because what is meditation? It's not stopping your thoughts, it's awareness of the thoughts. And so the more that we can cultivate our awareness, we start to get a superpower of, oh, I'm giving that person a lot of my energy or a lot of my thoughts. I'm comparing myself there. Or I'm playing small here. Like we really start to become this incredible observer of the things that are subjective in our life that then we objectify and make our reality. If you peel it back and you start to become aware of what is subjective in your life before you make it objective, you can really change the path of the course of where you're going. So I think take 5 minutes a day to start there, do something that allows you to go inward, some sort of introspective practice, and really start to ask yourself, what is it that I really want? And how is it that I really want to feel? Like, okay, do you want the relationship or you want the business or you want the bank account or whatever it is, but why, well, how do you think that's going to make you feel, and can you go do something today to tap into that feeling? I often say, people say they want to be on a yacht with all of their friends. Okay, why? Because that would be fun and adventurous. Go do something today that allows you to tap into fun and adventure and see that it's not the yacht and the people that are going to allow you to feel that way. However, when you're being fun and adventurous, you might just meet a person who says, "Hey, want to come out on our yacht today? You're really fun." Like that's how it all works. And so that's what I would definitely suggest. And the second thing is community, 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 community. We like to say you're one introduction away from completely changing your life. So go put yourself in a room with new people. You never know who they're going to connect you to, what collaborations are available, and how just hearing from somebody else that's been my experience of hearing from people and seeing them as proof and inspiration that, like, oh, I didn't even know that was available to me. I didn't know people did that or talked like that or lived like that. Cool. Now my whole vortex is opened up. My vision has been expanded. And I think that's invaluable. Just get yourself in different communities and rooms.
Golden advice. Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I could not have said it better. That was great. I think the part for me that is my filter is that the truth always feels like freedom, and the non-truth always feels restrictive and questionable and ugh. And so when you're thinking like, okay, I'm doing this thing, it kind of sucks. I don't know what I want to do next, but I don't know how to move out of this or whatever place people are in, or I'm doing this thing, but I think it could be way better, but I'm scared to go for it. It's like asking yourself, do you have the community? Do you have the networks? Do you have the support that can help you move to the next level? Do you have that introspective practice? And what feels like truth for you? What feels like freedom? Like your body saying yes versus saying no and getting smaller and feeling restricted. And if you're following that, like, yes, yes, yes feeling, life gets to get better and better and better because there's always more yes, yes, yes. But if you start following the no, restrictive, I guess I have to, people are expecting this of me, there's no other way, all those stories, we can just tell, like, as I'm saying this now, those stories don't feel good. That's a restricted, small feeling. So there's also that aspect of following your own truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honoring what feels good and believing that what is true for you is true for you despite
Yes.
anybody else's opinions about it, despite any of the conditions around you or the rules that have been put in place. What is
Yeah.
true for you is true for you. Mhm.
Yeah. Believe yourself and your intuition.
Thank you. Thank you, Kayla. Delicious.
Mhm.
I am so grateful for the two of you, for the work that you're doing, for the communities, for the lifelong friendships and connections that I've made as a result of meeting the two of you. It has been a bit of a joy to celebrate you and the work that you're doing. Before we wind things down, Sabrina, did you have any other questions or anything you might like to ask about?
I do not. No. I'm just excited to listen to you guys and be in your energy again because it's been a really long time. And yeah, you forget how magnetic you are and the wisdom that you guys carry. So appreciate you guys taking the time to come on.
Thanks.
Mhm.
We do have one tradition in
Mhm.
the One Step Ahead series, and that is Sabrina's whiteboard friend. Aha.
Yeah.
Sabrina writes a quote on her whiteboard before the episode, and then at some point we like to dip in, and it's amusing how we often find the quote relating to the conversation.
It is always aligned.
Always.
Always. Today's quote: true success isn't found at the finish line, but in the courage to start with purpose.
Obviously.
Yeah.
That's perfect for that last question. What do you do when you don't know how to move forward? The courage to start with purpose.
Oh,
Even if the purpose is simply to find something that feels better.
Mm-hmm.
Start.
Yeah.
On that note, Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much to everyone who's tuned in and listened. If you like what you're hearing and you've not yet pressed subscribe, please go ahead and do that. We aren't the most consistent as far as regular release dates, but we do have 5+ episodes remaining for this season. And so
Oh,
you'll be sure to catch them in your inbox that way. And I will say thank you, thank you, thank you, and wish you all a wonderful rest of your day. Mwah.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you, ladies.
Okay, bye.
Bye.